A bit of media madness recently taking hold within networks as they let go of long-standing on-screen talent. One of the most notable shakeups being Tucker Carlson's departure from Fox News, bringing an end to Carlson's run as the host of one of the network's highest-rated primetime shows. Here to discuss is Axios pro-media deals reporter Kerry Flynn. Kerry didn't have this on the bingo card for sure going into this. So talk about this announcement. Obviously, we saw this stock take a bit of a hit here, but social media, a mix of glee and outcry as well, but essentially shock across the board here and a very curt announcement from Fox. Where does Fox go from here?
Thanks for having me. And yeah, you're right in saying it was a shock. It was a shock for fans and his not so fans. It was just surprising in the fact that we had the news just last week that Fox News settled with Dominion Voting Systems. And so, that was huge. It was a big hit in the fact it was the largest settlement that has ever happened in a defamation suit. So yeah, that was shocking in itself. To then have the news come out that not only their biggest star, but one of the biggest stars in U.S. cable news history being ousted, the immediate questions were, was this part of that settlement? From our reporting and others, it seems to be that wasn't the case. But perhaps some of the news that came out of that settlement, that Tucker Carlson was being disparaging to his colleagues in private settings, really propelled that ousting from the network.
And then also, of course, the claims of harassment and sexism from former producer Abby Grossman. So when you sort of put all that together, then a lot of conspiracy theories still flying on social media as to why he left. But what does that mean for where Tucker Carlson goes next when you have such a name associated with such a brand?
Correct. I would say Tucker Carlson is Fox News. Where he goes next, the issue is that, yes, while he's a big name, Fox News was his platform, right? But truth be told is that he's worked at many networks before, so it's not his first time moving from another network and taking his fans with him. They did elevate him to future stardom. So we haven't heard from Tucker yet publicly what he'll do. Will he start a Substack? I don't think so, because he's definitely a video person. Will he join one of those right-leaning conservative networks like Rumble that are more consumer direct-to-consumer than a TV network? Maybe. I think he has some time to figure it out, given that what's been reported is that Fox News is paying the rest of his salary. So he's not having to run for money at this moment.
Yeah, it's certainly not small change he's making over there. And now a lot of people wondering, though, who could be out next at Fox? I mean, you still have the Smartmatic $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit also tied to the 2020 elections as well. Do we know then perhaps who else might be out at Fox next?
That's definitely the biggest question right now is, will there be other shoes to drop? Will there be other quote unquote sacrificial lambs? It doesn't seem like that's the case right now, but really the big question, you mentioned Abby Grossman's lawsuit, that was really focused on Tucker Carlson's behavior from what we understand. But there is also the lawsuit from Smartmatic, which was actually a bigger number than that Dominion lawsuit, and that has not, is still ongoing. So whether or not there'll be more texts that come out of there that look bad on one of their other stars, we'll see. We don't know yet. And I don't want to make any guesses because, again, Tucker Carlson admittedly was a huge surprise to me and I think the rest of the industry as well.
Indeed. And then, of course, same day, you have CNN parting ways with Don Lemon. A little bit of back and forth as to the nature of how he was notified and sort of how this really unfolded, some back and forth on Twitter. But in terms of his role at CNN, a little bit less of a shock from what I can understand on social media.
Definitely less of a shock. Don Lemon had been on thin ice for a while at CNN. Definitely when the new regime took over, when Chris Lecht became new CEO, there was the move from Don Lemon from primetime to the morning show. You could spin it to say, it's a big opportunity for Don. It was a big morning show. But he went from hosting his own show to being a part of a table. And so, yes, that was kind of seen as a demotion. But he just, in that new setting, had a lot of embarrassing gaffes in the public light. And then also there was upsetting, disparaging moments behind the scenes. And that's really the antithesis you want out of a morning show, especially a brand new morning show. So again, he was on thin ice for a while, and it just seems like it was the final blow came last Friday when the White House press secretary reportedly said that she did not want to be interviewed by Don. That is a huge loss of credibility to him as a reporter, and also just really bad look for CNN overall. It really affects their ability to do their job, to be that trusted name in news.
And then, of course, with the big guests and also advertisers watching as well. Also, just want to quickly bring up Jeff Shell, because this was quite the week for media, also out at NBC. Talk about that as well, as you have these major networks really having these very public sort of falls from grace.
Correct. We thought, as a media reporter, thought that the biggest news of the week would be Jeff Shell, the CEO of NBC Universal, getting fired from his job on Sunday. Turns out those two other news stories we just talked about happened on Monday. So Jeff got a little break from the news cycle. But it's a bad look. You know, how these instances all related are the fact that they were all related to misconduct. Very different misconduct for Jeff Shell's scenario. He was fired due to an inappropriate relationship with a woman. We didn't know who that woman was and what the details were on Sunday. Those started to come out on Monday. Axios has reported that the name of the woman is Hadley Gamble, who is a reporter at CNBC, an international correspondent. And her lawyer confirmed that Hadley has filed a sex discrimination and sexual harassment lawsuit. That's extreme. It's not allowed. It's not appropriate behavior. Again, very different, but we did talk about those really bad things that Don said on air that caused people to not respect him. And then Tucker Carlson has a history of misogynistic reporting and also behavior behind the scenes. So again, that's kind of how all those relate. Unfortunately, we're in this era of Me Too. We've been a part of this Me Too movement for a while now, but here we are still having men behaving badly. But the truth is that the consequences continue to be realized.
No, it's true. And then when you factor in cost-cutting measures and other considerations, it's just an interesting time at the moment. And, some of these networks having to make some tough choices here. A big thank you there to Axios Pro Media Deals reporter Kerry Flynn. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.